A Triad firefighter is back home tonight after helping out west. He has personal ties to what he saw.
There's families missing. The entire family's missing.
His impressions after returning somewhere he worked for years. Plus, a couple in the mountains lost their home. Now they're scrambling to make sure they don't lose their wedding day.
A wildly wet stretch is now behind us. We're tracking two different systems that brought over 20 inches of rain to North Carolina coming up.
And how a college ravaged by the storm has turned into a hub for hope. WFMY News 2 at 11 starts right now. We begin tonight with the rush to get the power back on in the mountains. Good evening, I'm Chad Silber. Duke Energy says it cannot give an estimate for when more than 100,000 people in our state could get power back. It blames significant damage and says it can't get to certain areas. The company also says 90% of its customers in both North and South Carolina will have power back by tomorrow night. Nearly 70,000 people in our state will have to wait till Sunday night. Duke has mobile substations deployed out west to try getting the power back on quicker. Leaders shared today 107 North Carolinians have now died in the storm. The Buncombe County Sheriff says more than 70 of them are from his county. He also says more than 200 people are still missing as first responders sift through damage and debris. The storm has tested everyone in ways some people never imagined. We met a couple tonight that lost their home. WFMY News 2's Nixon Norman found out it comes just a week before their wedding day.
Ponderosa Park has been home to dozens of families in Marion. Now it's nothing more than a muddy mess. Folks who call the area home don't know if they'll be allowed back due to the extensive damage caused by Helene. Like many others in the foothills, Elvin Tapia was stunned Helene hit them as hard as it did.
Never expected this to happen.
The storm was so powerful here, it ravaged the mobile home park where Tapia's extended family lives. He was there helping them clean up what's left of their home.
They saying that they might not let them stay here, maybe.
The same goes for next-door neighbors Samantha Hollifield and Isaiah Whitesides. The couple says their home is a complete loss.
Well, really, truly, I'm thankful that we're alive.
Before Helene hit, they were packed up and ready to move. Now their boxes full of things are so much harder to look through.
So now that we found stuff, I'm getting a little more bummed out and sad.
It's like the more things we find, the more things we realize that actually had sentiment to it, the more it hurts.
Also on the couple's mind, their fast approaching wedding. The two are set to get married next weekend. Still, they're bound and determined to tie the knot.
I'm getting married regardless.
Saying sure, it's not at all how they expected things to go, but they were able to salvage one of the most important parts of their wedding day.
We did lose a couple of things. The wedding dress is okay. The wedding dress is okay.
Hollifield wouldn't share a photo of her wedding dress in fear her husband-to-be might see it. But overall, she says, the two could not be more blessed that things weren't worse for them.
I mean, really, truly, I'm not just saying that. I've said it the whole time. I mean, really, truly, I consider us to be blessed.
Despite the devastation in western North Carolina, the couple we spoke with says what they're looking forward to now is their honeymoon in Bermuda, mainly so they can take a shower whenever they'd like. In Marion, Nixon Norman, WFMY News 2.
Nixon, thank you. Every day we are seeing just how deep this storm cut our state. In Creston, north of Boone, a man used his tractor to try doing some good. He came across a landslide that'll stay with him forever. He met a man who asked for help getting stuff out of his Jeep after floodwaters swept away his wife.
They loaded themselves and their belongings and pets into the Jeep and tried to head for higher ground. And when they came up this way, they were confronted with the creek in the road and made the decision to go through it and got stuck in the creek. And then evidently at some point when they tried to get out and to get back to safety, she was swept away in the creek.
We have heard several stories similar to this one, underscoring the pain felt across the mountains. More help is on the ground tonight from FEMA. The federal government now says more than 500 workers are in our state. More will arrive in the coming days. FEMA says it'll work with people in certain counties to get them housing. Some might even end up in hotels as they figure out a long-term plan. FEMA says it's already paid out more than $6 million in individual assistance. The agency also took time today to refute a rumor. You might have seen claims going around online about dried up resources. FEMA set up a page to address claims like that and says it has all the money it needs to help both in the short and long term. Countless agencies have sent teams out west to help ease the burden on first responders in the area. Graham Fire is one of those. One of their firefighters shared his personal connection to the devastation.
Kind of wrenches on your heart a little bit to know that I probably know some of those people. There's a good chance I know some of those people.
Daniel Holt is a fire engineer in Graham, but his roots are in the mountains. He spent years working in Buncombe County. It's part of why he didn't hesitate when he got the call to head out west to help with Helene recovery efforts.
When we got the orders to go to Fairview, I knew those people. So that was a true brotherhood and a family.
Any excitement about a reunion quickly faded once he saw the destruction.
It was horrible. Absolutely horrible.
The Buncombe County Sheriff says Helene has now killed more than 70 people that Holt once called neighbors. One is a fire chief he worked with years ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of sadness and despair right now.
He shared pictures that only capture a snippet of what he saw.
Just pray for those people and understand that it's worse than any of the pictures could even begin to describe.
Holt is now back with his wife and newborn. He says he appreciates that she lends him out from their family so he can help his brothers and sisters in the service.
She knows that the fire service was part of me long ago. So she knows that anytime that I can give a helping hand, I'm going to be there and I'm going to do it.
Holt says he plans to return to the mountains either on another rotation or on his own to keep helping a place that means so much to him. Agencies statewide have spent the last week deployed in the mountains. Greensboro and Winston-Salem Fire are among them. The North Carolina National Guard has now completed nearly 150 rescue missions. That's led to saving more than 530 people and 150 pets. 211 has been the hub for people looking for lost loved ones. The hotline has answered more than 9,000 calls in the past week. The team processed nearly 4,000 calls for either a missing person or a welfare check. 211, as you might know, is a service run by the United Way to connect people with help. We got some added perspective on the storm's damage from a source that might surprise you. We sat down with North Carolina A&T Chancellor Dr. James Martin II today. His background is in civil engineering. He says our state has a long road to recovery and there's really not much anyone could have done to make the damage less severe.
Unless you go to some kind of extraordinary measures, we would have had similar results, right? So it was because the event was an extremely unlikely and unforeseen event with tremendous number of cascading effects.
He says one of the big challenges is just how much was damaged, including power grids and water systems. Among all the needs, water is one of the biggest tonight. The City of Asheville has new water pipes coming as they work to rebuild infrastructure. Many people in the area still do not have running water, and it could be weeks before the system is back up and running. Without power, internet has also been a major challenge, even for first responders. They've had to get creative to make it work. Greensboro police have a team in Asheville. Their drone team is using a Starlink to get a signal up so it can continue search and rescue missions. As you might know, a Starlink is a newer piece of technology that pulls internet from satellites in space. Chances are you have seen one of these in the sky before. We've shown you how it's an all-hands-on-deck approach to relief efforts. 2 Wants to Know's Kevin Kennedy learned about a college directly impacted, now chipping in to help others.
Lending a hand, actually dozens and dozens.
We are trying to just get supplies and donations because it's so bad. And it hasn't even scratched the surface of what's going on.
Students and staff at Excel College are now part of a massive relief effort.
It just is so overwhelming, and I have no words, you know?
The small Christian college is about 15 miles from Asheville and has now become a distribution center. Supplies like water and food coming here than delivered to people in need.
And all the students are working hard to just distribute, so that's been awesome, and I'm just very proud of them, and it's been a great thing.
Emily Abney, one of the students, Sawananoa, is home.
There's all these little mountain towns that have one-way access. There's just people stuck up there, and yeah, so it's just
a lot, like an unimaginable a lot. Classes at this school canceled. As of now, it's all hands on deck to support those in need.
It's going to take a long time to get back into cleanup and rebuild, and so everybody's like, let's just stop everything and do what we can.
This is what resilience and compassion looks like. Strangers helping strangers. Doing is better than not doing.
Emotionally, like when I stop and think of it, I can't, because it's just so overwhelming. I think it's a traumatic experience for everybody. Just to think about the life that's been lost and the devastation is just, it leaves me just so overwhelmed.
Emily feeling like so many others, determined to do whatever she can to help and support those in crisis. Kevin Kennedy, 2 Wants to Know.
One of the Triad's biggest events returns tomorrow with the focus on Helene. The Carolina Classic Fair kicks off opening weekend. Organizers say the fair will have a donation site each of the first 3 days. The fair will have other relief efforts, but organizers did not elaborate. Look at all of the things you donated today. This is just some of the 8 truckloads of supplies from our 2 Cares drive. It heads to Statesville tomorrow for distribution. WFMY News 2's Eric Chilton shared his gratitude.
You know, all I want to say is thank you, and it's not enough, right? When you see how much, I mean, this is just one pod. We had enough supplies today, about 100,000 pounds of supplies. All you're looking at now is just some of the liquids, right? The water, the sports drink, sodas, everything that we could put in that. We had food, we had all those work gloves, and we told you the 3 things we needed, right? Were work gloves and water and trash bags, but you came with so much more. Thank you's not enough, but I have to say from the bottom of all of our hearts for making this supply drive perfect. Thank you. The Triad always steps up, and you did in a huge way. And we say thoughts and prayers to all of our friends and relatives in Western North Carolina. Because of you, this will help to some degree.
You have also been so supportive of our efforts with the Red Cross. Between Monday's phone bank and online donations, you have helped us raise more than $90,000 for people in need. The Red Cross needs more help, but in a different way. The storm canceled blood drives across the state. Well, that translates to more than 2,500 canceled donations, making the usual need for blood even greater. Help has come in so many different ways this past week. The only thing stronger than the storm has been the resolve of our state. One woman reflected on that through the lens of a parent.
The hardest part about being a parent and seeing your kids go through this level of uncertainty and fear and just not knowing what the future holds. And as parents, we can't unpack that for them. We can't say, here, I think this is going to be the step-by-step process of how our road's going to be rebuilt or when we're going to have power. But then as the day starts to unfold and they start seeing the helpers, I think there's a quote that says, look for the helpers, and you see them everywhere. It's your neighbors, it's the National Guard, it's the Meat Camp Fire Department, it's the DOT workers. You see the helpers, and it's like, I've got goosebumps even thinking about it. You see the good that's coming and the progress that's coming, and then I can hear my kids laughing behind me right now as they're playing football with friends that they haven't seen because we've been all shut off from the world. And so I think, and the sun's out, we don't have any more rain, the sun shines out, and there's something that happens when you see the helpers and the sun comes out and you reconnect to your community that lets you know it's going to be okay.
It is your support that gives someone like that confidence and allows the entire state to know it's going to be okay. All right, let's bring in meteorologist Claire Fry now. Claire, some new information tonight shows just how much rain we got during Helene, and when you pair it with a storm on the coast recently, our state saw an extraordinary amount of rainfall in a very short period of time.
And it really is such a rare event, not only from Hurricane Helene dumping over 30 inches, but just 2 extreme events, not even 2 weeks apart. Here we had from potential tropical cyclone number 8, over 20 inches of rain in southeastern North Carolina. Then in under 2 weeks, over 30 inches. A 1 in 1,000 event. This is what we've been calling it here, with the Helene moving into the area, bringing in those impacts across the region. A look back in history at 15-inch plus events in North Carolina. very comparable to Hurricane Florence that came through Elizabethtown, bringing over 35 inches. In comparison, it's kind of the Florence to what we're seeing for western North Carolina. So here's some things that Helene has done. It's breaking that long-running record of deaths from a tropical event. It's also brought rain totals across the area. It accounts for around 75% of the monthly rain, between 30 to 35 inches. Most places out there in western North Carolina receive around 40 inches per year. It's also known as a 1 in 1,000 year event. Hold me to its scoreboard here. Accuracy streak is now at 10 days, 1 degree off. Actual high temperature at 78. You can hold me to it for tomorrow. I have 79, mainly dry once again, and we're starting to cool off into next week. I've got a better look at the fall feel coming up in just a bit. Chad.
Claire, thank you. The city of Greensboro is shedding light on some concerns about the safety of a downtown parking deck. Plus, police shared an update on the search for a missing woman, what they want people in a certain neighborhood to look for. Next.